Well, it's another time for some hotcakes. I got my coffee. So it's been about a week since the January update and the changes to the mining, or rather its profits. So those that don't know, basically developers decided in January update that they will change some things on how the markets respond to demand and supply regarding the specific things that people can mine and are profitable, like painite, alexandrite, grand something, void opals and low-temp diamonds, and one or two other things. So those of us who have followed Elite Dangerous development for a little while have probably noticed a few things, and this is no different from their MO usually, which basically follows as such. Oh, there is something really good in the game, like really good money-making way that basically makes all other gameplay kinda null and void and everyone just doing that one thing to gather money? Well, Nerf hammer it in the ground! Now, obviously, for the normal game design principles, that's a good thing, right? To make sure that the gameplay, or one specific gameplay, doesn't, outclass everything else. That makes sense, and that's how it should be, that's true. But you see, there's another side of this coin that always comes into light when something like this happens. And that is the usual criticism I have for developers of Elite Dangerous, and that's being lazy. Now, obviously, with the current state of mining, you can still make plenty of cash if you need so. It's just gonna take a little bit more time, which, okay, fine, whatever. And I frankly don't mind these changes that much. But pray tell, if you nerf one type of a gameplay, don't you think that there should be also a, well, let's say a buff for something else at the same time? To make absolutely sure that whatever gameplay the game has is properly balanced. Well, here we got the biggest problem of all, and probably the reason why most people tend to be very upset, let's just say so. Ever since the start of the game, such gameplays as, combat, for example, and I mean the whole combat, has been underpaying as a gameplay tremendously. Now, just to give you basic numbers off top of my head about the whole combat. Now, bounty hunting with a wingmate, of course, will net you, at the best case scenario, about 10 million an hour. But okay, let's say you want to do some missions and you just go on for the high intensity conflict zones with the mission in hand and do the healies for feelies. Well, that will net you, at best case scenario, about 20, maybe 30 million. Now, remember, these figures are actually tested, like truly, I have gone out and tested every single one of them, and combat is a big outlier within Elite Dangerous. It just underpays like crazy. And let's say you have no notion what combat is. You may ask, why is that bad? Well, let's take for example exploration, a gameplay that has absolutely no risk and just takes a little bit of time to do so. It doesn't even require that much skill either. And what's the profit you can make out of it? Well, it's about 20 million at best case scenario. Usually it's about 18 to 90 million. But then comes combat, which at best case scenario in conflict zones, with missions, with a wingmate, can make that same amount of money within the same amount of time. And yet at the same time you're risking your ship, you need to know a lot of things, you need to have engineered ship, and much more. So it's a high risk, high skill gameplay. And what the reward for that is? Well, it's the same, as a matter of fact, often less. And I'll mean a lot less. And then of course comes along such thing as mining, which, well, netted eventually around 200 with painite mining before the January update. Now it makes less, obviously, around 60 to 100 million. But it's still notably more, isn't it? And mining I would describe as very low risk, medium knowledge, medium skill gameplay. And that is the most profitable thing in the game. Not a high risk, high skill, high knowledge one. No. It's gonna be the easier gameplay. See, oftentimes when developers start to bring out some sort of a change to the game's economy, it is always to just nerf something immediately. Too good for their standard, but never to upgrade or increase or just buff any of the other gameplays. It's always been the same tone. It's always been the slapdash approach and lack of competency at making these changes. And how do I know this again? Well, a little while back, you see, we, the content creators, gave a little bit of help to their team by providing some interesting statistics about, well, combat and a few other gameplays. Well, I did provide some stats on other gameplays. The combat was my thing, and I provided obviously the 10 million an hour maximum thingamajig. But what eventually came of that particular talk, well, probably was nothing. Instead, developers decided to just simply annihilate the mission board flipping and say that they're gonna give a flat 10% increase in mission payouts to compensate for that mission board flipping being gone. A 10% flat increase. It's like they don't even care. And what's even more funnier, that you can ferry around passengers, you know, the passenger missions, and get more money than doing combat. So much of the game's general economy is simply screwed. Because there's no one within the company who has either seen that there's issue or gives a crap. It's just the lack of general care. And as long as the game is literally not breaking or giving players too much, or actually making the game more enjoyable by making less grind, well, then we need to make changes now. And that sort of attitude is disgusting. And hopefully I'm not alone on this one. But what do we do now? Well, we can try and ask developers to get their heads out of their butts and actually put in some effort to make sure that the game's economy in general, missions, trading, or standalone gameplay, is balanced. But I honestly really doubt it's ever gonna happen. And all this because they're complacent, incompetent, and more so, lazy. So there you have it. Another outstanding gameplay in credit earning wise is being nerfed, and notably so because at the time of writing it's actually been pretty hard on Pay Night nerfing and of course a few other ones. Well, Old Time Diamonds seem to be okay, and here we all sit, just wondering what the hell. Anyways, if you enjoyed the hotcakes, well, do share the video around and all that good stuff. And of course, check the description for wonderful things like the merch store and Patreon and whatnot else. Other than that, well, let's keep on mining, I guess. Yay!